Good day. I am H. Robert Silverstein, MD, for the Preventive Medicine Center and West Hartford Cable Access TV. If you have any questions about this issue, about the issues discussed today or in previous sessions, then call the office at 860-549-3444, and we'll be glad to address those. Today's topic is the concept of inflammation and the African Heritage Diet. AHD, African Heritage Diet. This was published in an article in one of the leading medical journals in the world, Nature Medicine. It's top 1, 2, 3 at the lowest. It's number 3. It ranks at least at the level of the New England Journal of Medicine and above JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association, here in the United States. Now, the article was written by Godfrey Temba, and it is utterly fascinating article. Obviously, you can find it if you use ChatGPT or whatever search engine you're using, Grok. And what it says basically is that our Western diet causes the human body to put out tissue activating proteins called cytokines. 22 versions of those cytokines are pro-inflammation, and 6 are specifically for the heart, blood vessels, and kidneys. Now, that does not happen when one follows the African Heritage Diet. Now, I realize that's a new diet concept that you've not heard of before. You've heard of the vegan diet, you've heard of the vegetarian diet, you've heard of the Mediterranean diet. And let me take a little detour here about the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet, as practiced in the United States, is only helpful in reducing stroke. It does not reduce all-cause mortality. It does not reduce heart disease, heart failure, heart attack. It just reduces stroke. This was discussed in the Predimed, P-R-E-D-I-M-E-D study that was printed in the New England Journal of Medicine, I believe in 2018. Look it up for yourself and see. The thing that is wrong with the Mediterranean diet is here in the United States, there are too many refined foods. There's too much fish, there's too much dairy product, and there's not enough of an unprocessed, ideally organic, which is not a part of the Mediterranean diet as studied, but is an improvement over it. An unprocessed, whole foods, nearly vegan diet. That's what the real diet program should be. 85% of the diet should be, and that's what the African Heritage Diet is. It is an 85+% unprocessed, organic, whole foods diet. Now, what is that? That is grains like brown rice or millet or quinoa. By the way, I had the best, I don't know what to call it. I've been intending to call arugula. It was a quinoa chickpea salad, but it was a cooked salad. So it was slightly cooked vegetables with a little bit of quinoa and chickpeas, and the slight dressing that was on it was absolutely superb. If those of you who I'm not recommending often that you do it, but they have a tuna filet mignon, which is also remarkably tasty, which I had one bite of when I went there from somebody, one bite from somebody else. So then to get back to this concept of the African Heritage Diet being essentially similar to the near vegan diet. And all of you are probably fainting dead away thinking, oh my God, I've got to be vegan. No, that's an overstatement of reality. The real deal is to have unprocessed foods, like, for instance, Most people are not very active and don't exercise a great deal in the morning. So what do you need? You need a small single handful, single, not double, single handful of nuts and maybe a little bit of dried fruit to go with it. Now, you may say, well, that's not filling. That's part of our problem. Part of our problem is that we don't have the discipline to cut down on the amount of calories and food that we're eating. Now, there is a way around that, an easy way around that, if you can get this thought process in your head. Have vegetable soup for breakfast. I didn't say steaming hot vegetable soup, but all 4 seasons, you can have vegetable soup for breakfast in place of cereal. I view vegetables as having no calories. That's not true, but the calories are fairly limited. And the only vegetables not to include are the potato family. Don't go heavy on the winter squash either, but or carrots. But carrots are fine. Carrots, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, green leafy vegetables if you can put it in. Kale, collard greens. Collard greens have the most calcium of your standard vegetables. Sea plants have more calcium than any and high protein than any other plant group. So vegetable soup, and maybe you do want to throw a few lentils or chickpeas or black-eyed peas into that soup. Now, rarely have I seen anybody who's done, so to speak, exactly what I say and are overweight. I had one patient recently that really surprised me. She was about 5 feet, 5 inches tall, and she weighed about 150 pounds. And I just couldn't believe it because I know she is compliant with essentially everything I said. And so when I carefully took the diet history, she was eating way too many beans. Beans do have to be limited. Beans are protein, but they're also carbohydrate. So as a result, if you eat too much carbohydrate, you gain weight. Also, if you eat animal protein, you gain too much weight. The number one cause, according to the Cartagene study, Cartagene, Cartagene study, which was a meta-analysis of 474 other studies, showed that animal protein is the main cause of overweight, not one's genetic makeup. Now, the way I explain that is this metaphor. How much sunbathing should an albino do? Well, the answer is an albino has no protection in their skin from the sun, so they shouldn't go to the beach and do any sunbathing. They can walk down the street and they're fine. But as for going to the beach and laying in the sun, they are absolutely unprotected and are going to get really hurt if they do. So what that says is they have a genetic sensitivity, but they're fine if they don't anger that genetic sensitivity. That is, if they don't go to the beach, their lack of melanin in their skin is not going to be harmful to them. Everybody has an albino sensitivity somewhere. Some people will develop high blood pressure. Some people will develop diabetes. Some people will develop high cholesterol, high triglycerides. Some will develop a combination, but some will also develop cancer or lymphoma. And all of these represent how our genes are angered by doing things that we should not do. And the number one, a major driver of all of those conditions is simply increased belly fat, increased fat on the abdomen. Now, people talk about BMI, and I never liked BMI because it didn't look at particularly muscular people correctly. They may have had a tiny waist and been very well developed, but their BMI calculated elevated. The proper way to look at percent body fat or body fat content is to look down at your tummy and see if you can see where the muscles meet the muscles. And if you can't see that, then you have excess abdominal fat. And that is the beginning of the problem. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody develop what are called six-pack abs. Those are, they're not overdeveloped, but they're unnecessarily developed abdominal muscles. What is proper is to be able to see where the muscles meet the muscles on the abdomen, because there's an absence of fat hiding those lines, clear lines of definition and demarcation. Now, the body and the biology, for the most part, will tolerate slightly above that, slightly loss of the appearance of the abdominal clear lines of definition if you do other things correctly. Don't smoke, do exercise, positive attitude, adequate rest, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, for exercise, I've recommended Tai Chi as the #1 exercise for a very long time. Actually, that's not true. I've recommended swimming as the #1 exercise. But after swimming, I believe it's Tai Chi. Now, Tai Chi is sort of tied a little bit with weight training. And hang on a second. These weights, they feel great in your hand. These are neoprene covered weights. This happens to be a 5-pound weight. And you can do the cross-country ski action, which is an excellent second or third level exercise. And you can do weightlifting, and you can use heavier weights. I have 5-pound weights and I have 10-pound weights, and I keep them here on my, what is this, where I'm recording, which is my kitchen table. And so periodically I take a break and I get up and do the cross-country ski action, or I do some of the Tai Chi motions. And obviously I like the concept that's called CrossFit, but to me, CrossFit is simply doing various exercises. Doing some swimming, doing that cross-country ski motion, doing Tai Chi, simply doing squats. Saw a great Tai Chi exercise where you have one of those compressible gadgets that you put between your legs, and you squeeze it, bring your legs together, and then let your legs out. You do that 15 times in 3 sets. And that helps a great deal with stability and strength of your legs. It tightens up your butt in addition. And you can frankly do it sitting without the gadget or without a rubber ball between your legs. You just think about the tension that you would be creating as you bring your legs together, and then maintain the tension as you put your legs out. That tightens up your butt, that tightens up your leg muscles. And so I strongly recommend that particular exercise. But we have to do, if you want your freedom, if you don't want to be taking medications, if you don't want to be having surgical procedures, then you have to play the game by the rules. And the rules are that you breathe correctly, which means don't smoke. More and more evidence is coming out about how marijuana adversely affects the risk of heart disease. But interestingly, I read an article about an extract. I did not say marijuana, an extract of marijuana that has been found to be helpful with chronic pain. Now, everybody thinks, oh, marijuana is going to be helpful with pain. It doesn't really help with pain that much. I know there are, again, the concept of exceptions to the rule, where some people do get remarkable benefit. Most will not. So I don't recommend the use of marijuana for the relief of pain. Going back to the African heritage diet, it's an unprocessed whole foods diet. And so you can, if you're overweight, you can have the vegetable soup, a small handful of nuts, a little bit of dried fruit, and that's it for breakfast. And then each meal should have vegetable soup built into it. Now, one of the easy ways to make vegetable soup, and a lot of people simply just don't like cooking, is to steam a bunch of vegetables, and then how are you going to flavor it? Well, you can go to Trader Joe's and get some organic vegan broth or organic chicken broth. But one of the things that I like is Mom's chicken soup from Whole Foods. Now, recently, they've changed the recipe a little bit, and they're putting too much chicken into Mom's chicken soup. Somebody must have complained that there was not enough chicken in it. Now there's too much chicken in it. So it's a very tasty broth, and it has a fair amount of carrots in it, which are good. It has a little bit of celery and some onions in it already cooked, but it's a great flavoring, which if you steam some mushrooms, and I recommend almost daily mushrooms, steam some mushrooms, steam some broccoli, cauliflower, kale, collard greens. I know collard greens seem to be foreign to so many people, and I recommend that get over it and start cutting up your collard greens. There is a particular way where you cut out that center stalk, but you don't have to do that. You can just leave it there and cut it up and throw it in. And parts of the collard green will be cooked a little more, and parts will be cooked a little bit less, and so they'll be chewy for you. Chewing is an important aspect. It's important to chew to the point where the food is almost water. That is much more filling. We tend to eat our food much too quickly, and if we chewed it more carefully, it would knock out our appetite. 73% of Americans are overweight and more, 70 overweight and obese. That is a main driver for why there are such high healthcare costs. And there are ethnic communities that are more overweight than others, the American indigenous Indians, and then the people from the islands of the Southern Pacific, Guam, etc., have a very high incidence of overweight, diabetes, and dialysis. The Hispanic and Black communities have a high incidence of, and not that the Caucasian white communities don't have a high incidence, it's just that those other communities have a higher incidence. Well, here's the deal. You either want your freedom or you don't want your freedom. And what do I mean by freedom? I mean, no medications, no surgeries, no doctor's appointments, et cetera, et cetera. But we are where we are. So what I'm trying to do is to educate people about the concept of inflammation. Let's go back to what I said in the beginning. There are 22 different inflammatory cytokines, cell movers, that come from being on a standard Western diet, which does predispose to overweight. And there are 6 specific cytokines that directly affect the heart, the blood vessels, and the kidneys. Now, when I say blood vessels, that also means brain. So we're talking about stroke, heart attack, heart failure, dialysis, kidney disease, hardening the arteries in the legs, etc. Now, diet is the #1 risk factors. The moment I start talking to people about overweight, they immediately start talking about their exercise. And while exercise is important, and I give credit to my front office manager, Elena. Elena is the one who came up with a best guess that weight loss is 70% diet and 30% exercise. So let's get our priorities straight. Food is #1. Then there was the worldwide study of 204 countries that found exactly the same. All of this is part of my slideshow. By the way, if anybody would like me to speak in front of their group, give my office a call and we'll see about arranging such. Obviously, I'm a big believer in Hollywood and Broadway, and I play to a reasonable sized audience. I'm not going to come for 3 or 4 people. But if you get a large group together, I'll be glad to speak to your group. All right, so let's see. Turns out we have about 8, 9 more minutes. The African heritage diet and inflammation. not the Mediterranean diet, essentially an organic, unprocessed, whole foods vegan diet at the 85 to 90% level. Oops, what's that mean? That means if you're trim, what is trim? Trim is where you can look down and see where the muscles meet the muscles on the abdomen. If you're essentially trim, then you can have animal protein, what turns out to be 5 times in 2 weeks, palm-sized serving. My palm for me, your palm for you. 5 times out of how many meals are there in a week? Well, if you think 3 a day, there's 21. So 2 weeks would be 42. But if you eat 2 meals a day, and I do recommend intermittent fasting, which means eating in limited time periods. There are some people who can safely fast and skip eating a whole day. If you can do that, then I recommend doing that twice a week as incredibly helpful. But try to limit your eating in an 8-hour period and try not to eat at least 4 to 6 hours before going to bedtime. I know people who consistently want to start eating around 7, 8 o'clock. And again, there are exceptions to every rule, but the rule still applies. It is best to stop eating 4 to 6 hours before bedtime. That helps sleep. And sleep is important, that it does allow refreshing, that you don't develop acid reflux and asthma and difficulty breathing. So do what you're supposed to and gain your freedom. This is about the old phrase, human potential movement, and the human potential is not to be distracted by needing to take medicines, develop side effects, doctor's visits. Now, it's not like I'm against seeing doctors. Of course, I recommend seeing doctors. A person should have an annual physical examination, which should be directed primarily at heart disease and diabetes and cancer detection prevention. But most of the time, you will have that turn out to. I have patients who come in, I see them once a year. I don't find anything. Their cholesterol is fine. Their blood pressure is fine. Their percent body fat is fine. Their diet and exercise are fine. I say, see you in a year and do the screening test, and everything turns out to be negative. By the way, fecal immune testing and Cologuard. Those are great for the detection of cancer of the colon, which, by the way, is occurring in younger and younger people. And why is that? And the answer is because of their elevated percent body fat. What do those inflammatory proteins do that I talked about with the African heritage diet? They set people up for heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, etc. So the right idea is, so the result is that you're finding cancer and heart disease in younger and younger people. The most common cardiac abnormality turns out to be high blood pressure. That is what is said. I think that's because I disagree with what is called the current proper cholesterol levels. If you take the total cholesterol and subtract the good cholesterol, the safe number is 90 or less. If you've already had a heart attack or angioplasty, or your CT angiogram shows that you have hardening of the arteries, then when you take the total cholesterol, subtract the good cholesterol, that number needs to be 75 or less. And that's how to prevent. By the way, hardening of the arteries is a reversible process to a point. And I do recommend that the best way to do that is the lower calorie, near vegan diet, which also a near vegan diet acts like a sponge, soaking up bad things and taking them out of the body. So once again, the price of human freedom. What is the price of freedom? It is eternal vigilance. Now, the question gets to be a little bit like a lawyer here. How long is eternal? Eternal means pay attention all of the time. And not in a sense of fear, but more in a sense of obligation. We have obligation to do certain things, and like drive safely, walk safely, not get drunk, stay home when you're sick, and so on and so on. So we accept these obligations, but the obligation for you to get your human freedom is to breathe right, don't smoke, drink right, water, weak herb tea, not more than 2 cups of coffee a day, maybe 3. Limit alcohol to 4 drinks a week or less. And I don't recommend drinking alcohol, but I certainly think that the human body will tolerate 4 drinks a week or less. Interesting. Getting the notice that it's over. Breathe, drink, eat essentially an ideally organic and unprocessed whole foods diet, like the African heritage diet, like the nearly vegan diet. Grains, vegetables, beans, fruit, nuts, and seeds. Have some fermented stuff in there, kombucha. Get your refrigerated sauerkrauts I get mine at Big Y and Whole Foods. The sea plant sauerkraut was on sale yesterday, so I bought a couple bottles of that at Whole Foods. Good price. Usually it's expensive. And grains, vegetables, beans, fruit, nuts, and seeds. Breathe, drink, eat, exercise. Exercise to the point of abdominal clear lines of definition. Get as close to that as you can, obviously, an eternal goal. And then the last thing is about stress, anxiety, and depression, which is vastly improved by doing Tai Chi. Stress, anxiety, and depression. Accept the difficulties of life and persevere through them with humility. No complaints. Life is what it is. Just figure out what you're going to do it, and accept the consequences. That will relieve much anxiety and depression. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program, and I say good day and God bless you all. Hopefully there will be peace in Gaza. Seems like whether you like him or not, it seems like Trump is working a major miracle there. Bless him and bless everyone in the United States. And we'll see you the next time. I am H. Robert Silverstein, MD, for the Preventive Medicine Center and West Hartford Cable Access TV.